and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got Jamison Maxwell, Ty Lee, and popping on in is the captain, Boatin Blake. And folks, just looking at this schedule, we're doing some I don't know, like summer podcast scheduling, looking ahead. Preview season's almost here. It's about time to kind of button up, tighten up a little bit, stop talking about hot dogs and some ridiculous stuff, but it's not time yet. So we are going to do what honestly is a podcast I'm super pumped for, an idea that Ty had, and that is the college football broadcast draft. And Ty, just where did you get this idea from? I feel like it was like on an offhanded comment on a pod or something like that, and it ended up being just like the best idea I feel like I've heard in a while.
Yeah, this came straight off the dome. I don't even know where this came from. Someone was talking about some sort of broadcast thing, and whatever was going on, my mind was in generate content mode. And of course, my initial thoughts were, it would be really funny to do a draft of a broadcast team, and then we all just collaborate to pick Blake's least favorite people and try to gaslight him into thinking he's wrong. It evolved into a more serious thing, but yeah, we're very excited to draft our ideal broadcast teams. Bobby will explain a little bit more about the rules and what specifically we're drafting here in a second. But long story short, we're going to be coming up with, a draft team that we'll each have to defend at the end of the pod and make the case as to why our draft team and the people that we draft as we go through it is the ideal college football broadcast crew.
Yeah. So we're trying to create a full broadcast team here. I think this came up around the time like Charles Barkley and TNT and all that was going on. All of the drama with that. I could be wrong.
That was that was the trigger of. Yeah, that was it. They announced some, I think, rather suspect crews for next season for broadcasting, and the thought was, what can we do better? So we will let you, our precious viewers, make the determination. Did we come up with something better as a product?
Right. And this is going to be fun. So here's what we got to do. We got to fill up a roster of 7 here. So we got our play-by-play commentator, our color commentator, the guy providing, all of the information right next to him. That could be anybody. Play-by-play has to be someone who does play-by-play. Sideline reporter. And then we move to the studio, college game day style roster slots. So we got a studio host and 3 commenters. Those are kind of the wild cards. Now, this can be anybody, pretty much. There are some lines that we will cross. that I know. Look, we got some habitual line steppers on this podcast. I know there will be lines being crossed. You can pick pretty much anybody. You can understand probably where the guidelines are, but they have to be alive, and they have to be within reason on some senses. But I don't know. I'm really excited for this draft.
Yeah.
Our order, we got Ty kicking us off, then me, then Jamison, then Blake. Snake draft. And look, Jamison, Blake, I haven't gotten to y'all yet before we start this thing. Blake, I know you have a lot of opinions on sports media personalities. How are you feeling entering this draft here?
If I'm going for my own opinion, I feel great. I feel like I can build a team. I got them nice power ranked each slot. I know where to go, but I feel like the popular opinion is not going to follow me. Like, there's so many sheep out there. There's sheep that listen to this podcast. There's so many of them that just buy into these guys that everybody tells you that are good, that really aren't. They really aren't. And, well, that's... I appreciate Ty for putting this one on the agenda because it gives me a space to tell them why they're wrong, because some of these people you just take as the best, but they really aren't actually the best. It's just you're spoon-fed them by ESPN, who controls all of college football and forces you to watch these people. So I'm really excited to finally get my opinions on the record. Whether you disagree or not, at least I've said my piece. So I'm very excited.
Jamison, how do you feel about this? I know you obviously have as well. Like we've talked about just those old ESPN segments from back in the day, where you had Mark Bailey Holtz, all of that good stuff. So I know you're hyped for this as well.
Yeah, and let's just emphasize this. This is drafting our dream college football broadcast team. This is not drafting the best Sometimes we like a little bit of
the dream
crazy.
and the best can be the same thing.
Yeah,
It's also not realistic. Like, let's be honest. This is probably
dreams can be nightmares.
Should be fun. Should be fun. All right, so let's dive into this thing. We're gonna pull up the big board here. Let's get it all sorted out. Hide my little deal.
I will say this is bold. Ty got to choose where he got to select, and he chose one of one to go first. This is bold. This is bold. If you screw this up, you'll get the
Allen Iverson.
I won Iguodala.
Andre Iguodala. I love it. All right, so Ty, with the first pick, who you going with here?
Yeah, look, so I thought about this like a normal draft, right? I thought about, I got to take the one rule we had was that the play-by-play has to be a play-by-play commentator. So for me, naturally has to be a football one, naturally has to be a college football one. So I said, I'm taking first overall. I am taking, right, this might be a little controversial. I'm taking Herb Street first overall because I like his play-by-play stuff. And with the rest of the team I'm planning to build, I've seen Herb Street dealing with guys like Pat Mack, who are a little goofier. I've seen him dealing with older guys like Coach Corso in recent years, being sort of his watch, the guy keeping watch over him on game day. I feel like whoever you throw on a team with Herb Street as this draft evolves, he can play well with them, and he gives good commentary. I feel like I'm going to get some years out of him. He's getting up there in age, but still younger guy. I love Herb Street first overall as my play-by-play commentator.
Great one-on-one.
That's an awesome
Is he play-by-play or is he color?
He's color. He's color. He's 1,000% color.
Okay, but he works with so many good. He works with so many good play-by-play guys. Like,
so are you? You're counting him as your color, Ty? Correct?
No, I'm taking him as my play-by-play.
No, he would be a color. He would be
he's a color guy. He has to be.
No,
he has never done play-by-play. He has literally never done. He's literally never done play-by-play.
I just said that I was taking him as play-by-play. You can transition to tight end in the league.
Whatever. Let Ty do it. I believe
you got a Ferrari and you're making it a tractor.
Let's see who he chooses. Maybe he just doesn't understand who's color and who's play-by-play, and it actually ends up working out well.
The guy I have pegged for color is not getting taken by anyone else, and he cannot do play-by-play. He literally just cannot. It's not possible. Herb Street, maybe the only person going up on my board who even knows or is associated with football, so he's got to be the play-by-play.
Okay. Ty's key feature right there is he's dealt with lunatics in the past and has been able to deal with them, so he can deal with whatever lunatic that Ty selects as the color commentator.
I will find evidence of him being play-by-play.
I don't think it exists.
I don't think it exists, man.
He's
like that's a fundamental.
He's never been play-by-play.
Fundamental misunderstanding of the project, but that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna move on. I'm gonna go. So
that's
I'm up
the
next.
1 of 1. That is actually the best selection at 1 of 1.
What going with Kirk Herbstreit, but putting him in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
it's PJ Carlissimo playing Kevin Durant at the shooting guard. Okay, so with my first pick here, that's tricky because I feel like Herbstreit would have been up there for me as a good color commentator.
Would have been up there. Would have been up there.
He's my number. He was my number 1 on my draft board for color commentator.
Yes, all the dudes in color commentators mostly suck.
I don't know.
I got some.
I like
got
the guy
some ones that I like.
The guy I have it too is not bad. It's not bad. Okay, my number 1 pick. I'm gonna go with Chris Fowler, ESPN, for my play-by-play. I feel like Fowler does a really good job. He brings like the emphasis and big moments that you really need. I feel like it might be a reach to get a play-by-play guy kind of early, but I feel like we're in a bit of a lull right now. Some of the legends, Musburger, Vern Lundquist, are kind of out of the game right now. I think he does a really good job there. I think he's really versatile. Has called a couple NFL games as well. I like him there. So I'm going to go with Chris Fowler, number 2. So both ABC guys off the board.
All right, I'm next up. I've kind of gone back and forth on how I want to do this specifically, but I have a vision and I want to continue it, and I'm going to hope that it stays the same. So I'm going to go to my commentator on the TV show portion.
Oh
And
God!
This is
Oh God! That was my bottom of the board. But
You got three of those.
because I have a vision, I don't want it to screw up. Give me Lee Corso. Kirk Herbstreit's already off the board. We don't have Kirk to rein in Lee. And Lee's going to be off by himself. No one to help him. And let me tell you something. Peak entertainment. They have to reel Lee in. They have to put him off set for a little bit. Imagine Lee Corso off all by himself. I've got a vision, boys. Put Lee Corso on there for number 3 and just see how the board turns out.
Oh, okay,
This man just took a kicker in the first round.
So Jamison, you have Lee Corso at 3. Does he have to like take breaks?
No breaks.
Well,
no breaks.
he's on the network crew, so he really only has to do halftime and such.
No breaks. No breaks for Lee. He's got to stay in there.
I was gonna say either you have a 3-man like studio team, or Corso is just like gonna fall asleep halfway through. That's borderline elder abuse.
I've got a plan. Just let me do my plan, okay, Bobby?
Okay. All right.
God dang!
That is a
Okay. This is Blake. Before you
wasn't
pick,
even on my board.
is Jamison just such a ball not knower that the only other 2 names that he knew were already taken? So he just
I think so. I think Jamison just wrote down, the prompt was kind of like build your college game day set plus announcer crew. I think he just wrote down exactly what that crew is. And
Y'all,
it's like gonna try
y'all
to
don't
select
understand.
it.
Y'all are
This is so bad. Lee
Y'all are
Corso might
short-sighted.
only have 1 more year left in him.
Exactly. That's why it's going to be amazing.
I don't know.
You're balling out on an expiring contract, Jamison. What are we doing
right
here?
we are. You're damn right. Y'all just don't have my
Okay.
vision.
All right,
You'll
Blake,
see
you're picking number 4. Who do you got here?
Okay, this one actually kind of hard for me. There's one I prefer and then one that's probably just better. I'll go with the better. So play-by-play first, Jim Nance. He is the penultimate
Who's that?
What do you mean, who's that? Jim Nance
What?
calls basically almost every Cowboys game at this point. He calls the NCAA tournament, or used to, and then the Masters, every big golf tournament. This guy is the penultimate play-by-play, can do basically any sport, and it's fantastic. I will say the other one that went in this, I don't mean to feed some, maybe some good picks to Jamison. Jamison might need it. Kevin Harlan was up there for me. Calls NFL games great. It's just one of those, if you're sitting on the couch on your phone, you can tell when a big play is happening, because unlike Gus Johnson, who is probably going to get selected, he actually is like telling you what happens and then starts to yell. Gus Johnson just starts yelling. You have no idea what happens. It ends up being a 3-yard run. So Jim Nance, CBS, versatile guy, taking him there.
Yeah.
Love the snake here.
I will say I noticed that y'all are playing the game correctly. I'm making my dream. I was worried. I didn't know if everyone was actually going to pick what they thought were the best ones, or they're going to pick their dream. I look like I have gone towards the dream side, and y'all have gone towards the accurate side.
Just
wait,
wait, Jameson.
I have some
wait.
fun ones. I have some fun ones, Jamison. We're like, don't fret. Don't fret.
Okay, I'm good.
I just decided not to pick my crazy ones at 3.
Well, I have a vision, and I have to. I just don't want it to fall. So just let me do my vision.
I would like to say, Blake a couple times called Jim Nance the penultimate commentator, which means second to last. I'm not really sure
that's
what
true.
he meant by that.
The ultimate.
But
The ultimate.
I don't think you know what that word means. Like,
No, it is definitely second to last. It's very confusing. It seems like it's good, but it's actually not. It's just kind of a place in time. I hate that word. I use it all the time incorrectly. My next
seems like a
pick
skill issue.
is going to be color commentator. I'm going to take Joel Klatt. I think he's rising up the ranks. He's not Herb Street yet, but I like that he gives a little bit of a counter view compared to like the ESPN media out there, only trying to project like SEC, ACC on you all the time. He actually has some unique opinions that he gives in the booth. I think he's super solid. He balances out. He makes Big Noon watchable to me. Like, he balances out Gus Johnson well. Like, see, Joel Klatt would have been good. I thought Jim Nantz would be off the board, honestly. So I thought he would have been great with Kevin Harlan. Loud, he balances that out well. But we got a pretty calm booth, but one that's very intellectual. So I'll take Joel Klatt.
I honestly forgot Nance was not fully retired, but just retired from March Madness.
Yes.
So that was part of it for me, and I just don't think of him college football wise, which is
You can bring people out of
but that's why I think honestly most of the college football crews are bad. Like, they're really, really bad. They don't actually talk about the game that they're like. If it's that's my thing. If it's a TCU Baylor game and Greg McElroy's on the call on color, he is talking about the college football playoff. He is not talking about what's going on the field. These guys, I want guys that actually talk about the field play, which is not many of the ESPN guys. So it's going to be a lot of pro people from me and Joel Klatt, who I love. So,
well, there you go. All right, Jamison, you have pick number 6. Who are you going with?
Yeah, so I'm going to continue with my vision. We're going to stay towards the TV commentator side, and we're adding Bobby hinted at him.
2?
Yes, I've got a vision.
My man drafted a kicker and a defense in the first and second round.
Once again, I am formulating a dream that's something that I will
You can get these guys at the end. You can get value at the beginning. You get no value.
Nope. I have a vision, and I want to make sure I get it. So I'm putting it into motion.
So and you're going with.
You guys keep on putting these wonderful players, these wonderful guys that you watch all the time. And they're good and we respect their game, but we watch it. I'm creating premier television that everyone's going to want to tune in for.
This man
at number
Jamison
6
said, my kicker needs a holder.
Bobby hinted at it. Give me Lou Holtz right next to Lee.
No! My whole studio was built around building Lou Holtz and Mark May in the next round.
Well, don't you worry, because Lou Holtz and Lee Corso, dynamic duo next to each other. Can you just imagine them next to each other? I don't even know what would get done. What's going to get talked about? Is there even anything that's going to get said? Am I tuning
That's awful.
In? Absolutely. If you put all of these great guys, so you think about these wonderful, guys who get millions and millions of views for their sports commentary. You watch this every day. They say the same thing. It's just washed product. Lou Holtz next to Lee Corso, that is not washed product. That is premier television.
What was it you texted earlier where you were like, oh, I didn't, this thing might end up getting a little problematic. Lou Holtz would get fired by week 2.
Nope.
Modern Lou Holtz.
I might lose a whole television crew within a couple weeks.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, for anyone watching live, if you go into the chat right now, I will bankroll this if I have to. If you go into the chat right now, if you believe that Jamison is liable to pick Antonio Brown in the next round, I'll give everyone a $10 gift card if he does that.
Oh my God. I mean, that very well might be in contention. This Jamison's list has gone off the rails already.
I agree with Jamison, though. The best segment ESPN ever did was the fake courtroom with Lou Holtz and Mark May I don't even think it was at halftime. It was just I feel like anytime I turned on SportsCenter, somehow Lou Holtz and Mark May would get in 5 words, and Lou Holtz would go on waxing poetic for 4 minutes on why Notre Dame's gonna win the national championship. Jamison has I think a pretty decent vision, honestly.
Thank you. You guys were short-sighted, like I said.
Lou Holtz was my one of one for studio guys.
So yeah, that was the college football show at the very, very end of the night that they would have on. The last thing you would see before you went to bed on Saturday nights in the fall was Lou Holtz and Mark May just babbling about stuff. College football prime time, I think it was.
It's perfect. Oh, God.
I mean, I'm
actually really mad about it.
I didn't think you'd actually do it.
My next 2 was going to be Lou Holtz and Mark May. I was going to make the reunion happen. Damn it. That's a good
thought about what other people wanted.
He's definitely not a color guy, Bobby. He is definitely a studio analyst. I don't think Jameson's bringing him into the booth.
Oh no,
Jameson
no.
is
He's
yet
right
to
next
pick
to Lee.
someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
For the booth.
right. He was a color guy at one point, but
What the?
yeah, sorry,
Nope,
my bad,
nope.
my bad.
Nope. They're in the studio.
Yeah, there you got to keep them confined.
And I will say, it's
Oh my
rarely
God.
that I boost one of Jameson's points, but the most talked about probably quote last year was when Lou Holtz called out Ryan Day for just basically being a horrible coach that can't beat good talent. So
Well, people do not care about what they say. You know, you saw it with like Bob Cousy recently, just talking trash. You know, like people who are old in sports do not care what they say. That is prime TV.
I mean, that's oh Jesus. Anyways,
Lou Holtz doesn't
all right.
even know what he's saying half the time, and neither does Lee. So it's gonna be wonderful.
Okay, I'm gonna hop on here. I got number 7. So, earlier, someone said something to the effect. I think it might have even been off camera that the studio host is the easiest one. I disagree. I feel like you have to have a good studio host to balance out the craziness going on.
There's a clear
So that's-
1-1, so
Yes,
I'm curious
there
if
is.
Bobby gets it.
So I'm gonna go a little bit off base here. I'm gonna go with Ernie Johnson from TNT.
Oh gosh, no.
He didn't get it. He didn't get it.
He
Lee.
didn't get it.
Yeah, I think
I know.
Blake and I are thinking of the same person.
Maybe.
So here's the thing. Ernie, we obviously know Ernie for basketball, but he also does a really good job with baseball. TNT, I believe, just got like some of the college football playoff games. I'd be shocked if Ernie wasn't running those as well. I think he does a good enough job. You know, knows college football well enough to like kind of. This is a very solid base stone. Maybe a little too early for a bit, you know, of an outside pick. You know, a non-college football type of guy, but you know, I wanted to lay the groundwork for what I have coming down the commentator, the studio guys later. So we're gonna go with Ernie.
I will say, as I have 8 and 9 here, Jamison did get a lot of flack for picking 2 admittedly iconic college football personalities. And then Bobby in the second round picked a basketball guy. So, you know, shout out to Jamison for at least staying on topic. Something I will not be doing here, sideline reporter.
Oh,
I think what people want from a sideline reporter is different. What I don't want someone who's like polite up there. You know, there's a lot of people who do sideline reporting great. That's not what I want. I want someone who will get the interview, ask the tough questions, talk to people even when they don't want to talk. There's only one person in all of sports who I've ever seen do this. I'm going to have a bit of an explanation for this because some of you guys might not know who he is. Martin Brundle from Sky Sports Formula One does this thing called a grid walk before the race. I promise you, if you're not a Formula One fan, look this up. He gets interviews from everyone, every celebrity, every politician, anyone who is on the grid, the racetrack before the race. He will get an interview. He very hilariously, a couple of years ago, interviewed Paulo Blanchero, the NBA player, thinking that he was Patrick Mahomes the entire time. It was not a bit. He legitimately thought he was interviewing Patrick Mahomes. He's amazing. These celebrities will try to run away from him. You'll have the Williams sisters from tennis trying to run away from him. And he's all like 5'4" of him is chasing them down with his little British accent trying to get, I promise you, look up some YouTube highlights of this if you're not familiar. There is no one I can see better on the sidelines. He will chase anyone down. I foresee him doing a pregame sort of grid walk, walking around the tailgate area, interviewing people. So I will go ahead and take Martin. I will then number 9. For number 9, I'm going to roll into my first studio pick because someone that I would really like to have on my studio team, and I'm worried that if I don't take him now, they're going to get taken later. I got to go Bob Stoops. We're an OU football podcast. I think he's great on a studio team. He's great popping up in the booth here and there. Good analysis, good personality. I got to take Bob Stoops. I wouldn't take him this early on if it weren't just for the logistics of this draft. I got to take him right now because I feel pretty secure in my other people. But I got to take the ones I'm afraid will get taken. So first studio pick for me, Bob Stoops. Not the host, just one of the studio guys.
Okay, I think that's a really good pick. Bob's clearly showed he can do it. It's pretty great. And for Martin Brundle, just the idea of just dropping him in. I think you have to tell him nothing about the sport. Just drop him in and have him just
get the
try to
interviews.
figure it out. Yeah,
He'd be
great.
interviewing a random ball boy, and he'd be like, "We're here with Lane Kiffin."
We need that. That's incredible. All right, I am next up here. Okay, I got my play-by-play guy. Honestly, we're kind of scraping the color commentator, so I'm gonna kind of leave that on the back burner for a while. You know what? I'm gonna stack up my commentators a bit. And look, this can be anyone. It doesn't matter that some people might have jobs already. I'm gonna go with Baker Mayfield in my studio.
Oh God.
No, that's a
No,
good
no.
one. That's
You
that's
can't
a
tell me Baker
legitimately good one.
Mayfield
We
does
can
not
just-
have a few.
Pick
No,
Can't tell me he doesn't
I-
have a future.
no,
an
I-
NFL contract.
Come on.
No, I'm fine with it. I think it's just a bad choice. I think
Yeah.
I don't think he really offers as much that you think he offers more than he actually does because of his aura, but I don't think his aura translates well to
Yeah, but he's
TV.
in the studio. I don't know. Let Bobby
I
cook.
don't like.
I mean, here's my thing. He's one of the biggest personalities in college football history.
So is Johnny Manziel, and he was ass on he was ass on a podcast.
Well,
and stuff
'cause they
like
made
that.
him be
can't
sober.
actually. That's true.
Yeah, no, but you can't put a 1-to-1 with Manziel and Baker. I don't think that's fair because I feel like Baker I don't know. I think
picked Joel
Baker has
Klatt, and
Baker
you're
has
trying
the
to talk
sound
about
bites.
boring.
Yeah, Baker has the sound bites there. I mean, I know Manziel was electric on the field and he did a lot of cool, hand gestures and stuff, but ultimately the guy was kind of strung out a bit. Baker, on the other hand, I feel like he always had something interesting to say. He's continued to be interesting. I think he works here. I think he works here. So we're gonna get a little spicy.
This is
forget the
bad.
fact that
If you put him with the right crew, it would be a cool watch as an OU
For
fan.
10? For 10?
I mean, a little stretchy, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very much
But, like,
stretchy. That's like a pick that you could get in the last round. Nobody's choosing Baker Mayfield. At least Bob Stoops did he did Big Noon. Like, he's done it before.
What do you mean?
Okay,
at
so
least?
we're
You
jumping
said
down
at
my
least,
throat
he's
for
not
going with a
good.
Heisman Trophy winner, one of the best quarterbacks in OU history, but we're gonna let Martin Brundle which is
Martin
great.
Brundle is
I wouldn't want I wouldn't want Jason White on the call at all. Like,
Yeah, but Baker
just because
Mayfield
you
and Jason
win
White
something
is
doesn't
totally
make you
different.
interested.
It's not like that. There's a reason I didn't put Kyler Murray down there or Adrian Peterson. I think Baker Mayfield's interesting.
I will
I think
say
he's fine.
a studio bit where Kyler Murray on the college football video game tries to recreate what just how happened on the field will be kind of cool.
Oh my God.
It's bad. Are you gonna
I don't know.
continue in the OU suck off Jameson or
No, I'm
Well,
not.
my thing is he's not
I don't
hosting either.
I will not be sucked. All
Lito's
judo
saying
sucking?
not about hosting. I agree he wouldn't be a good host, but he could definitely he has a good football mind. I
He's
feel like he could
one
pick some
piece
stuff
of a
up.
four-person crew.
Yeah, that's a fine guy to have.
Yeah, but if
That's not what I want at 10, a fine guy to have. I want
I
some
would
elite
judge-
piece
I would
of your
judge
like,
but
Bobby's
it's better than
team.
Lou Holtz, who's liable to
No,
say
no,
something about
wrong,
Okay.
Bobby.
Yeah,
You're wrong.
again,
This
Lou
is
Holtz,
entertainment,
Lou Holtz would
Bobby.
get fired in week 2. I'm telling you.
Yes, and it's going to be a huge story, and the TV
Yes.
ratings are going to go up. Everyone's going to
I'd
want to
rather
watch
have-
my TV.
TV ratings going. Okay, regardless, let's move on. Jameson, who do you got?
I'm gonna actually put a real one here. This is a guy that I actually really like listening to whenever he calls games play by play, and I think he does a really good job. And it's Jason Benetti. I think he does a really good job.
He was on my list. So good.
I think he's stellar. I think
So
he's
good.
I think he's stellar. He does a really good job. And this dude's been having to deal with Brock Hurd the past couple years. And that takes an elite talent to deal with Brock Hurd all the time. Dude sucks. But Jason Benetti, very, very high. He's honestly the guy that I put right at the top of my play-by-play. And I understand we have those guys, that y'all already named that are pinnacles, the most notorious play-by-plays. But Jason Benetti's a guy that I always respect and I really like watching.
So play by play, right?
Yes. Jason Benetti, the guy with the lazy eye.
Yeah, I know. I should know.
Jeez.
Just off the top of my head. I apologize.
Jason Benetti's I'm kind of liking
He's so
Jameson's
good.
draft.
He's so
He's
good.
He was 4 on my list for play-by-play, but he was honestly close to Chris Fowler, close to Kevin Harlan. He has the college football experience. I really like that pick. I like it a lot. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right, Blake, who do you got next?
Okay, this one's kind of hard. I'll go studio host first. Just picking another. I'm just picking a really good, solid one. Like, I don't think. Sadly, I'm probably not going off the rails just yet, like most people think. But like, he's the pinnacle studio host. Host Monday Night Football. Like their pregame, postgame, halftime show. Can do it all. Scott Van Pelt. It's such a
he's such a good personality.
like such a good. He's the perfect amount. Like the reason why Reese Davis will never come close to this is Reese Davis interjects his opinions and his opinions suck. Scott Van Pelt actually has some like nuance to it. He has the gambling angle. He has like the demeanor. Good, calm, love him. Like he hosts a solo show. He can host it with 5 guys. He can host it with 10 guys. Like he knows when to interject. It's such a solid pick. Like, that was my one-of-one studio host. Oh, gosh, and my next comment... I'm gonna go studio commentator next. Don't want to reach for a guy. Could get chosen, could not. Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley, I love him on the, like, college basketball. The only college basketball he watches are the ones he bets on, and then Auburn basketball. So he doesn't know anything. Still wildly entertaining. I think with, like, I don't get the Ernie presence, but Scott Van Pelt, very mild, will let him cook. I like that. So I didn't want somebody overbearing. Reese Davis, of course, that's probably going to go off the board, but Reese Davis would be interjecting like no other. I don't want that. So I think I have a solid studio host, studio combo, Charles Barkley, just kind of the pinnacle of just any studio host, regardless of, he's done some golf too. And he's not even good at golf, so I like him as it's a fun, easy one, safe pick, but I don't think one that many will disagree with.
See, I like Barkley. I feel like if I brought up Barkley, everyone would be like, "Oh, he's basketball. What are you doing?" So like,
he does so much random stuff. Like it's like Snoop Dogg in a way. Like you could bring on Snoop for the color commentating because like they just bring him in for anything. It's like Charles Barkley kind of fills that same role. So.
Yeah. Barkley was up there on my list. I didn't think anyone would get to him. Jamison, who do you got?
I'm struggling because I don't know where I want to go with this. You know what? Screw it. I'm going for gasps here. So I'm going to go to color commentator. And I wanted to put a play-by-play person that I really respect and I really like. And this is a guy Jason Benetti has worked with before, color commentating. But I want someone to say something stupid, also knows football really well, but will say stupid stuff amidst that. And is also just kind of really easy to laugh at. And that's Urban Meyer. Give me Urban Meyer at the color commentator.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Jason Benetti and Urban Meyer already have rapport. They do stuff together already. So that's a perfect fit. And I want someone that you never know what you're going to get from him. Urban Meyer might be a couple cocktails deep. You never know.
I thought it was going to be RG3. I thought it was going to be RG3 when you're talking about just ultimate unhinged.
No, RG3's too easy. And like, you're getting like unhinged from him because that's like his vibe. Urban Meyer's unhinged is a different category. So
he's not joking. That's the difference.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. He's not joking, and that's why I like it. So
RG3's joking. Meyer. Urban Meyer he's dead
Urban
serious.
Meyer tries to keep it close to the chest, but we see pictures of him out in the wild that you're like, oh, kind of an unhinged man. RG3's just unhinged all the time, so we know exactly how he thinks. Like he doesn't try to portray himself.
Whenever RG3 says something like a little wild, you're like, okay, that's just the vibe that he's like stepped into as like he's still pretty new, even though it's been a couple years now as a color commentator. But that's like how he's making his persona to be as. Urban Meyer, who knows what his persona is?
I mean, there you go. I love it. You're like, I can't even imagine what network your team would be on, Jamison. But,
the PR is like, oh God.
Honestly, Fox is the perfect people to hire his squad.
Buddy, this might
can't
be
get canceled.
No, this will be streamed live on Twitter.
Oh my God. Oh Lord. Okay, so there's that. Look, I'm just gonna make a pick. It's going to be boring. I like it though. Sideline reporter, I'm going to go with Erin Andrews. She's does a good job. You know,
goat.
There you go. Yeah, she's great. And I feel like college football, you know, she was excellent with that. We've had her on the NFL for a while. Yeah, you know, nothing too groundbreaking, but you know, she does good work. Nick Gallo was in my list there for a while, Jamison.
Oh God.
I realized I just couldn't do it.
Who's this balding small?
Pandering. I knew Bobby would be pandering.
Nick Gallo,
pandering with the Baker Mayfield pick and the Oklahoma City Thunder sideline reporter. Pandering. I knew he would.
Full pandering would be just throwing in Nancy Lieberman, you know, in the,
no, God.
Man. I would love that. You know,
oh man.
Ashley,
Okay, Ty, 16th pick, you're up next, and then after that, we'll take a gander at how everyone's full roster's looking.
Going off the rails is not necessarily part of the trolley problem. And I'm not really sure why I brought up the trolley problem. It has nothing to do with
the trolley problem. Is people are dying regardless.
The train going off the rails probably solves the trolley problem.
We're going off the rails. We're going off the rails, right? First one, I'm going to get some flack for this, but undisputably the best person for this role. I have a very limited scope in mind of what his role is going to be. He's really going to be the person. It's my studio host. His job is sort of maintaining order, dealing with the studio crew, and kicking it back and forth between the box and the studio. For that one, you guys are not going to understand my vision here. I'm going with Jeff from Survivor. The host of Survivor.
That is actually Jeff Probst.
Jeff Probst is going to be my studio host. At the end of every game, the analysis is just going to be him doing his, it's over, it's all over, and then they're going to break it down.
Is that studio?
It's going to be
studio?
Studio host, like the you know how we specified like a host and then a studio.
Yeah, no, I know.
All right, and then up next, as Bobby's typing that, right? The NFL does a really good job of this. You don't see it a ton on college, someone that's dedicated to this in the box, but I want a dedicated in my studio, someone who can be a rules analyst. What I don't want is someone who has a history doing like rules analysis in football. That's exceedingly lame. Why would you focus on that? But I do need an attorney. So who is an attorney, who speaks well, and who's going to draw views? Obama. Give me Barack Obama, fan of college football, very well-spoken, very entertaining. Things are getting out of the hand in the studio. He's my fellow Americans, stop. He's like, you know, egregious call. We need to drone strike the referees. I can't really do a good Obama impression, but give me Barack Obama as sort of maintaining order with Jeff a little bit, and then also as an attorney breaking down some of these rules. He'll have to read up on the rules a little bit. And I think he'll draw views. You know, we got a guy from England, we got a former president. I think we'll get some good international viewers in on this crew as well.
Okay.
It is hard to dispute this.
I
thought
Bobby
rules
put
analysts should have
retired next to Barack Obama's name.
I wanted rules analysts to be a category so bad because I could only think of 3 of them, and I wanted to figure out what people would come up with for the 4th. And I figured out the 4th. I figured out the good 4th option, but
I only had a second one for that. If we got into the rules on the odd chance that someone took Obama before me, I was going to take Barry Scheck, one of the guys from the OJ trial who went up there and argued that DNA wasn't real. Which is like, I respect that. I respect someone just blatantly, you know, lying because they could at the time. So shout out to Blake, founder of the Innocence Project.
For your rules people, so you have Dean Blandino.
Blandino.
You
got
Mike Pereira.
Gene Steratore.
And then would you bring in Steve Javy from the NBA?
See, that's who I was trying to think of. Literally, my 4th option on that one was Young Sheldon. He did the Nickelodeon broadcast as the rule analyst. So Young Sheldon was gonna be my 4th if I wasn't able to select one. He has the experience. Nobody can say.
No, people can still take Young Sheldon here. Like,
So
still
I
on the
guess
board.
giving up that good young Sheldon is still on the board and has experience as a rules analyst. So
Yeah, and Patrick from Nickelodeon. Like, let's
Patrick
not
and
forget about this guy.
SpongeBob as well. Whoever was in the Andy's Toy Room broadcast, so maybe Woody and Buzz also have some studio
Well,
experience.
the voice guy for Patrick was an absolute savage. Let's not forget that he just completely roasted Russell Wilson.
Destroyed him. Destroyed Russell Wilson. It was great. Okay, let's take a look at everyone's teams as we've kind of reached the middle here. So Ty, his team so far, he has for some reason his play-by-play is Kirk Herbstreit. He does not have a color commentator yet. His sideline reporter is F1's Martin Brundle. Studio host Jeff Probst from Survivor. Commentator joining Jeff is Bob Stoops and Barack
the most
Obama.
sane. What's so sad is the most sane pick Ty has had, even with Kirk Herbstreit as one of one, is Bob Stoops as the studio analyst.
No, Martin Brundle is I was
That's a very
very
good
serious with that. He would be
No,
a
I can-
monster on the sideline.
I
He'd be
could
very
see
inquisitive.
it.
It'd be, no like sense of boundaries would be excellent. And then I have Chris Fowler as my play-by-play guy, no color commentator yet. Aaron Andrews on the sideline, studio host Ernie Johnson, and Baker Mayfield as a studio commentator as well. Jamison has Jason Benetti with Urban Meyer next to him. And then in his studio, no host yet, but he has Lee Corso and Lou Holtz hanging out. So excited to see who he has for studio host to get those folks together. And then Boatin Blake has Jim Nance on play-by-play, Joel Klatt running color with Scott Van Pelt and Charles Barkley in the studio so far. So lots to go here. Let's dive right back into it with my pick. Woo, man, we're kind of deep into this one.
And you already chose Baker Mayfield, and we're really deep in this one.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
I wish I could take more color commentators just to screw people over. It's like people in fantasy who just stockpile position. And you're like, what the hell, man? I wish I could do that to Bobby right now for making so many dumb decisions.
I kind of want to. I need to lean into the dumb at this point. I think, right? I need to get real dumb.
You already did it.
Let's go with Mark Mangino.
That's a great one.
No, Mark Mangino's perfect for this, just for the visual image of him hanging out in the booth. Chris
Wait,
Fowler.
in the booth or on the desk?
Oh no! In the
he's
booth.
on color?
We're putting Mark Mangino on color.
Does he have experience with that?
That's a bummer because I want to see the camera on him 100% of the time.
I know, but it'll be great. I've listened to the man tell stories. I think it could work. Let's go Mark Mangino on color here. Let's get a little weird.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay, let's go back to my good old my commentators here in the building. And so let's recall I have Lou Holtz and Lee Corso. It's the senior hour. I just want a bunch of old men, very, very old and confused. But I want one who can at least talk with it just a little bit. Give me Vern Lundquist right here, just talking in the studio with everybody.
In the studio?
In the studio?
Yes.
Wait,
Get me in
hold
the
on.
studio.
Hold on. You can't put Vern in the studio.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You just put Baker Mayfield. He's on the
Yeah,
freaking
that's
contract right now. I can
Vern
put
is-
anyone who I want.
Vern's voice deserves to be play-by-play.
Well, too bad. Too bad. I want old people in their 80s plus right now in the studio.
Is he the
Confused,
studio host or just
mildly-
the commentator?
No, he's just a commentator. I just need some mild cognitive impairment amongst everyone out there. So I think those are my three commentators. So if you're going to analysis, who are you going to pick? Vern? You're going to pick Lee? You're going to pick Lou?
My God, man. This is wild.
God. Jamison moves to DC and all he wants to see is old white men in power. That's
All right, Blake, you have the next two. Who do you got?
Oh gosh. Okay, my 20th pick. I'm having trouble with the studio. I had a clear vision there with Lou Holtz, Mark May. Jameson kind of disrupted that. I'm struggling, so I'm going to punt at least one of those while I think. But sideline reporter, I'm gonna say it, I'm not too fond of just the sideline reporter job in general. I think it doesn't really add much value. I don't think it really adds like really all too much that you can't find on Twitter. It's basic like descriptions of what's going on in the game that I'm already seeing. It doesn't really matter to me. So I like Ty's theory about going Martin Brundle. I want some newsworthy, some social media clippable type interviews or monologues. And this guy, he went ultra viral. I haven't seen much of him since, but he did once. Give me Sergio Dip. Sergio Dip with the most
thinking it.
the most electric on the second Monday Night Football game, which they only do for the first week of the year, absolutely fumbling the beginning part with one of the best sideline reporter clips. Sergio Dip's joining the team. I want it to be
because I had prepared.
Yes, I was looking for it. So go.
This is essentially there's some parts out that are left out. He's like, "This is Coach Vance Joseph's premiere. You watch him now on the screen. His diversity in his background is helping him a lot tonight." And then they cut to him, and here he is, having the time of his life.
It's the most electric sideline reporting clip I've ever seen. So Sergio Dip is getting the spot. I don't want a seasoned veteran there. I want Sergio Dip getting pulled from ESPN Deportes to come over and like have to do the Monday Night Football game. So
I got to scrap.
Give me him.
Scrap for my sideline reporter now.
And then I guess so. It's my pick again. Commentator. I don't think he'll be good at it, but that's kind of the point. I need this man to get exposed for just being on a solo show all the time.
Oh,
Put
God.
Josh Pate in that damn studio.
Oh, we knew it.
And have him actually have to answer questions from somebody. Not get to choose his own agenda. Not get to choose his own viewpoints. Not get to sit there. I at least like have respect for Colin Cowherd. He's had just kind of a wheel of dumb people, granted, but people that have sat at the desk that kind of challenge him at points. Granted, not on the right things, but Josh Pate, all talk. And just, he's gonna suck. And that's why I want him there.
Who does he have in there with him? He's got Charles Barkley in there with him?
He's gonna put his mind in a pretzel. Whenever, he's not. He is not. No, trust me. This guy doesn't know how to deal with a differing opinion.
It's SVP, like one of the nicest guys, and Barkley.
He's going to be the only person in there who can name more than 30 college football teams.
No, it's going to put his mind in a pretzel.
He's going to say
he's going to be doing all of his he's going to be like these casuals. He's just going to
say there's the money.
You'll be talking to casuals, Blake. It doesn't make sense.
No, he can't deal with that. He can't deal with that. He can't deal with talking to casuals, which are just people that
Chuck is going to ask him which team is the Cheetahs when he says the Cheetah.
He won't know how to deal with it. He will not know how to deal with it. That man has been pandered. He's been treated with white gloves, been on a show with no interference whatsoever. This man, when you put him into the fire of just anything, he does not know how to deal with live TV. I want to see him bumble up there. I want to see him get exposed. He can't think of takes off the fly. He has to be able to process them. I want to see him fumble. I want to see him fumble bad. So, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
Okay. Jamison, who do you got?
Is it really me again?
Yeah, it's you again.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so I've got my TV show of Lou Holtz, Lee Corso, and Vern Lundquist all together. And who is a man that has experience of keeping like an old man in check? Blake said it. It's coming. Everyone knows. You got to put Mark May with Lou Holtz. And Mark May is now going to have to put in all of his effort of arguing with him and Lee Corso and Vern Lundquist, all elderly folks above the age of 80. And that's going to be his job. Now, he's not a usual studio host. Usually he's a commentator. He is graduated into this role. And I am excited to see the host of Mark May. And
Mark May is kind of old.
Yeah, how old is he?
64, 65?
Mm-hmm. He's 64.
Oh my God. And so he's an old man talking to other old men?
Yes. So Mark May is going to have to keep in check all of these old men, and it's going to be wonderful. This is primetime television. Tell me right now that this is the most interesting television series out of all of our picks.
I agree with Jamison. It's Mark May. You gotta you can't choose Mark May on his own. So Jamison kind of handcuffed him whenever he got Lou Holtz. It's a good pick.
But like, I
you think Baker Mayfield's better, more
I
interesting?
I feel like Vern would end up taking the hosting role because Mark May needs to spar with Lou Holtz. He can't lead Lou Holtz.
Well, too bad. That's not what I put forth, okay?
I know.
Needed another old person who can at least talk college football, and I struggled to figure out who it was. And then I said, okay, Vern.
That's
fine. Anyone got any better ideas for some old people?
I don't know, man. Like, it's you gotta put yourself in an interesting spot here. We're just full. Actually, I kind of love your show. It's 4 old dudes just grumping about like college football. That's pretty good, man. Okay.
Jameson does, I will say, have the downside of it could easily turn into the kids these days, and it's just ranting about all the kind of boomer points that having Dabo in the studio would elicit. Like, it could easily turn into that. I will say that he doesn't have a guy that can cut through that, support that. If it gets off onto the NIL tangent, Jameson might be done. It could be game over.
Okay, I got my next one. Man,
what do you have left, Bobby? What do you have left?
Bobby's gonna take
I have
Jalen
2
Hurts.
studio guys left. So
Oh God.
I have
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I don't know. This is tough. I wish I could just shift. Man, I don't really want to.
Sam Bradford.
I wish I could. No, Bradford would be awful. Here's the thing: is those guys would be awful. There are OU quarterbacks who would be awful. I kind of wish I would have punted Mark Mangino out of here, but it'll just have to do.
You cannot punt that man. I will tell you that.
No one else was going to pick him. For the record, he was not coming off the board, and Bobby was like, "I got to get this guy."
Bobby has had the most consensus. Nobody was ever going to choose him at this point, but you reached for him at that point.
I mean, everyone else I have is pretty ridiculous too. So let's lean into the ridiculous. Like, this is at this point, I feel like it's already kind of screwed. So let's just get really weird. I'm putting in Matthew McConaughey.
What?
Because
look, that was hey, it was in consideration for me, Bobby. No, I'm right there with you.
I'm throwing in McConaughey, someone like a billion miles away, no analysis whatsoever. A Longhorn to spar with Baker, talk a little shit to each other. I feel like it could be a little bit fun here. I don't know. Throwing the idea out there.
This would be SEC Network right here.
It is a little bit of an SEC type of show, but
Oh, shocker. Bobby just aligning with what his ESPN overlords would love to have.
Hey, look, it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. So
it could be, but yours isn't that much better.
Yeah, I just love the idea of this. Just throw him in, have him say weird stuff, and let's fight about it. I don't know. I feel like I needed to lean in a little bit more, but I don't know. Ty, who do you got?
Here's the situation I'm in, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening and not viewing this on YouTube, we're down to pick 24 and 25 because of the snake draft. These are my last 2 back-to-back. I have to fill a color commentator spot to go up in the box with Kirk Herbstreit, who's doing play-by-play for the first time at this level of football. He's going to be having to deal with a guy from England who's used to commentating Formula One on the sideline. And then I have to pick someone to go into the booth with Jeff from Survivor, Bob Stoops, and Barack Obama. So where are we going with this? For me, there's one obvious, right? Who am I putting in? I already described my sort of vision for Jeff. He can comment here and there on sort of the athleticism, like, oh, that was a cool play. But Bob Stoops is going to be heavy on the football in this studio with Obama, pitching in as he sees fit. Who am I putting in the studio with Jeff, Obama, and Bob Stoops? His name came up on the pod once before. Kind of surprised. I see Jamison's vision now. I'm going to go ahead and take Antonio Brown. We're going unhinged.
There it is.
We're going as unhinged as possible. He is a football player. Who knows what he's going to say, right? And just I can't even imagine what sort of dynamic I've just created in this little crew up here, but I need it to devolve somehow. Sort of next on the list, kind of confused. I wanted to take Nick Saban. I think that would actually be a great show.
Yeah, now he's a great.
Way too serious. Would have been insanely good, but I just got to go. I can't put Antonio Brown up in the box. So who am I putting up in the box with Kirk Herbstreit for my final pick? I got to go unhinged. I got to go with someone who can sort of balance out Kirk, who's very Big Ten biased. And I already promised that it would be someone that wouldn't know ball so much that we would have to force Kirk to be play-by-play. So I'm going to have to go with Theo Vaughn as my color commentator. I just think he would have funny things. He's good off the hip. He's very sharp off the hip with funny things. And I think
with the mullet.
Yeah, I think surprisingly he's pretty good at knowing where the line is in terms of what he can say in a live broadcast and what he can't. And I think he'd have a good dynamic with Kirk. And I think he'd have some hilarious comments about the things that Martin was saying, words like penultimate and things like that Theo wouldn't understand. So give me Theo Vaughn and Antonio Brown as my last two.
I like that Antonio Brown pick. I thought
Bobby's on mute.
I feel like Bobby put himself in a bad position here because he tried to go serious and then went unhinged, but Ty is more unhinged, and Jamison somehow is still a little bit more serious just because he has college football guys in there.
Half of which are retired.
In a bad spot.
What?
Okay, they're retired, but like Vern was still doing stuff for.
Like Vern isn't doing anything wrong. Like
what do you want me to do? I just wanted an old man. I'm sorry.
If this is an East Coast based studio and this gets a night game, Jamison, it's going to backfire on them. They're all going to be asleep, and you're going to get no content.
No, that's wrong. They'll wake up early enough. They'll fall asleep at 5 p.m. It'll be easy.
Dude, if you get a night game that starts at 7 p.m. and halftime and the post-game show is at like 10:30, 11.
Nope, part of it.
It's not great. Geez, man. Yeah, it's tricky because I had a couple options where I was going to have an unhinged studio. For a while, I had a plan of like I was going to add Baker Mayfield, Josh Pate, and then I was going to throw Boatin Blake in there just to have Blake work with two of his least favorite people every week, but that didn't work out because Blake ended up taking Pate. So unfortunately, that plan fell apart. So now I'm kind of left at a really weird spot where I don't really know where to go next. Frankly, it's just kind of a mess. You know what? Let's go ahead and throw in Booger McFarland just for fun. He can have his little
Damn
scooter thing.
It.
Was that gonna be your sideline guy?
Well, I'm just trying to. I'm
Booger Mobile
because I
see that's a waste.
Dip, and then I thought about having someone extremely polarizing. I thought about the Antonio Brown on the sideline too. I really did, and then I was like, screw. Let's just put Booger. But oh gosh, I'm screwed.
Booger, Bobby. I think you wasted that opportunity with sideline. If you had the Booger Mobile, that's
Booger Mobile. Oh,
like
Bobby,
you would have had sideline Booger Mobile, which is like 10
Jamison,
billion times better.
Do you want to trade?
No, Ty asked questions about trades, and you were silent. You just pointed to the sign
because I was working.
Yeah, we had two people comment on trades, and both were in favor. And then the other two abstained.
Well, that's okay. I'm interested in trades. Does anybody have any trades they want to make?
I ain't trading my roster.
No,
that
means Bobby has a bad roster.
Yeah, I already know I have a bad roster.
I do want Booger on my sideline. I really want Booger on my sideline, but you know what? I'll just have to deal with it. I'm next up, and
who do you got?
I'm on the clock. I want someone polarizing. I want someone like who's really going to ask the questions, and I want someone Antonio Brown-esque that you never know what they're going to say. Give me like Chad Ochocinco here. I think Chad Ochocinco could be electric on the sideline reporter. You want someone who can relate to the players, they'll feel comfortable with. Their shoulders get a little tight, but then they relax whenever they see Chad. And I think he'll ask some really funny things. I think he'd be pure entertainment on the sidelines.
I don't think that's a terrible one.
I don't think that either. So I guess mine with my last one, I think I took the feedback to heart. It's like Josh Pate's right now on there with a whole bunch of casuals. You kind of need somebody to meet his energy. I was thinking RG3 here, but I went away from it just because he's a little too unhinged. I need somebody that tries to speak the same language as Pate, but still ends up with unhinged results. And it is college football related. I think Desmond Howard. You got to choose him. Whenever
I thought you were going to go
think
Paul
about
Feinbaum.
I know, because I think they would agree too much on the SEC stuff. The thing I love about Desmond Howard is he can tell a story so perfectly and then end up with like UNC, A&M, UVA, and Georgia in like his final. And you're like, what the hell? How'd you get here? And so I like that he speaks the same language as Pate, but ends up with just the most atrocious results known to man. I think that's enough of a guy that it's like, it's not going to be overt, but is really going to bother him whenever he comes up with some of these things.
Once again, though, you've surrounded Pate with literally the only people possible that will make him look competent.
Yeah, I mean,
That
this is pretty tough, man. This is.
I think it's going to rattle him whenever he has to hear some of these things. He doesn't have to. He never has to hear other people's opinions, and I don't think he'll know how to react. I really don't.
You
kind of
could
made
have
his
put Nick
career,
Saban
man.
in the booth next to him.
Yeah, but I couldn't
That's
put
not
Saban
great.
in there. I
That's not
couldn't.
great.
Like, I don't want somebody to see, like, if he wants to get his shine, but he has to cut through it, and I don't think he can cut through it. That's my thing. It's like, he could end up having the best takes of them all, but I don't think he'll get that, like, he wants that virality about it, and he won't get it from this. Like, there's enough there that there's two viral machines with bad takes that will get the clips more than him, and it will really bother him. This is not like an overt, like, he'll flip out on the stands, but as he goes home at night, it will just, like, be like, God, Charles got another viral clip from from whatever studios, like main Twitter, and Desmond's weird projection, but none of my good analysis like ever got out there. I like that. I like that slow, just war of attrition. I did make a woke team though of like actual realistic people. If y'all would like to hear.
I would love to hear that, but let's run down.
Yes,
let's run down the final
Please
teams
just
first.
read Bobby's roster when you do that.
Shut up.
Ooh.
I'm not going to take the slander from a man dressed like Han Solo right now.
Oh, damn, Ty, you can't respond to that one.
All right, so
I gotta
we
wear
got-
the vest. Bobby's takes are so cold.
with the long sleeve. That's funny. That's funny. Okay, so here's Ty's team. He had Kirk Herbstreit as the play-by-play guy, which still makes no sense. Color commentator Theo Vaughn. So, like, Kirk will have to try his best there. I love it. Sideline reporter Martin Brundle, studio host Jeff Probst from Survivor, commentator in the studio Bob Stoops with Barack Obama and Antonio Brown.
Bob Stoops is gonna like never talk.
No, he is.
never gonna talk.
No,
He's gonna get his rock and roll
so
tequila,
perfect.
and it's gonna be
like
it's gonna be
because three of them are just so like straight laced, kind of like even keeled guys, and then you throw in Antonio Brown. It's too good. It's too good. And then I had Chris Fowler as my play-by-play with Mark Mangino as a color commentator. Might have to shift that one. Woof. Sideline reporters Aaron Andrews. In the studio, we have Ernie Johnson, Baker Mayfield as a commentator with Matthew McConaughey and Booger McFarland.
I will say, Bobby.
Okay, that's
actually,
kind
I
of
could
funny when
close
you look
my
at
eyes,
it.
and I could see that actually happening. Like if it's
It's-
like like an off-season kind of thing.
It's like if you told me that Bobby got Chris Fowler, Aaron Andrews, and Ernie Johnson, you're like, so you got a good lineup, right? And it's like it's the Anakin and Padme meme, and it's like you got a good lineup, right? And he followed that up with Mark Mangino, Baker Mayfield, and Matthew McConaughey, and even Booger. Like you could throw Booger into the good context of it, and Bobby still somehow found a way to screw it up.
I think we're sleeping on the Baker thing. Baker's fine. Baker would be fine. He is very much like I think
chose him at 10. You don't need fine there. You need a star, and you chose fine.
Everyone chose choosing really weird stuff at 10. Like it was fine. It wasn't picking Kirk Herbstreit number 1 in the wrong spot, or Lou Holtz, who is just I
It's
love
a
it.
great
but-
pick
okay.
that other people wanted. Excuse me?
Nobody
You took
wanted.
Lou Holtz
I
second.
was not. Lou Holtz was not on my board.
Well, you're
Lou
nor
Holtz
was-
was on my board. Big time.
Well, let's move on to Jamison's. He had Jason Benetti, Urban as the play-by-play, with Urban Meyer color commentator, sideline reporter Chad Ochocinco, studio host Mark May with Lou Holtz, Lee Corso, and Vern Lundquist. And then Blake, his play-by-play guy was Jim Nance with Joel Klatt, Sergio Dip as a sideline reporter. And then his studio host is Scott Van Pelt, Charles Barkley, with Scott Van Pelt as the host, with Charles Barkley, Josh Pate, and Desmond Howard as the commentators. So that is our draft lineups here. Blake,
Who'd
I
we
would like
leave
to
out?
hear.
Or wait, who do you think we left out? I guess like some of y'all's that were like on the line, you couldn't choose, but we left out.
I'm not a big Pat McAfee guy, but I feel like a lot of people in this world would have put him on this list, and I'm just not a big Pat McAfee guy.
I didn't have McAfee on there. I had Mike Tirico up there as my play. I liked Tirico a lot. I had. I kind of should have waited a little longer because I wanted to get weird and put on Musburger, who is with the Vegas Raiders right now. I know he's kind of a weirdo, but like just a classic voice. Just immediately makes me think of college football. I've always liked the guy.
Dave
Dusty
Pash.
Dvorak. Dave Pash is good. Color commentator, I had Dusty Dvorak, but at that point I had already had Baker Mayfield, and I didn't want to do too many OU people.
I thought.
What about Jason Garrett for color commentator?
No, God, no. He already does it. No.
Jason Garrett. Oh goodness, Gary Patterson.
Oh God, no.
I almost put Gary Patterson and Baker together just to see what would happen.
I thought Kevin Harlan was left off by play-by-play. I think he's really good. Color, I said Chris Collinsworth, Greg Olson as like the two
Greg
that got
Olson
left
is
off.
like legitimately good.
Like good. Like he's really, really good. I was just like he could easily transition into that. Sideline reporter, I had Maria Taylor, just classic. Probably thought she should have been on there. I'm trying to think. RG3. Which I kind of wish RG3 would have gone somewhere in the draft. But yeah, that
he's
is
a
all
stud.
Yeah. I
I feel
was
like
thinking
everyone
RG3.
thought RG3 was too obvious that we didn't want to pick him.
Yeah.
But he's so good at what he does. I'm not saying like his job, but more of his role that he plays in that job is.
He's definitely continuing to develop.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a crime that Saban didn't make it into a studio. I had a sort of a second iteration that was much more serious in terms of, like, obviously replace AB with Nick Saban. I'd still keep Jeff in there, but Obama, Bob Stoops, and Nick Saban. I think that would actually be an interesting show as well in the studio. Some other people missed out. I couldn't really figure out where to place Joe Rogan. I feel like he's just too much of a solo guy to work in a team. So I didn't have him up there. He was my alternate for sideline just because he does sort of immediate after the fights in the UFC really well. I think he would translate really well to that. Trying to think other people. My big off the wall idea was Chat GPT as one of my commentators. So it was just going to be Obama and Bob Stoops talking to Chat GPT about things. And then my other off the wall idea was sideline reporter is just a random intern who has to ask live viewer questions no matter what they are. If they receive the highest vote, they have to be asked. And that one obviously is online only streaming, and that would be really, really funny. I would love for someone to do that in sports. Like whatever the top voted thing is, it has to be asked.
I'm sorry. They just keep on wanting to look at your hog. So that's what I gotta say.
I'm honestly surprised no one said Gina the monkey. I thought that was up there. That's probably a little too much. Honestly, the better sooner, in studio would have been Gerald McCoy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could have been. He's a pretty lively guy, but I don't know.
I got my Woke team.
Who's your Woke team, Blake?
Okay, Woke team. These are people that actually can fill these roles, not like just the worst people imaginable in them. So, play-by-play, Gus Johnson. I am surprised he did not get taken. My man just screaming everything, but not the actual plays in the game. He is obviously he's in the top 2 crews of college football, so I have to watch him. So Play-by-play Gus Johnson. Color, not from college football. I took him from college basketball. Dick Vitale. I could not imagine a booth worse than Gus Johnson and Dick Vitale just yelling about whatever garbage they want to yell about.
He just got the good news about.
I know. Tough timing. But I will stand by. I could not stand him coming over into college football and talking about diaper dandies and guys.
I should have put him instead of Vern.
It's
Ooh,
not in the studio. You need him just being like, "Oh, that diaper dandy," just interrupting key moments of the game in the the late fourth quarter.
I disagree. I love Dick Vitale, so
that's why I made this try to be reasonable with my opinions. Sideline, easy. Marty Smith, a yapper. He says nothing. And I would say says everything, but he just says nothing. He just yaps. He's a Bush League Dale Earnhardt Jr. that couldn't get into NASCAR and somehow found his way into, I don't even think it's SEC football. It's ACC somehow. But he always pops up in a Clemson game, and I hate it. Studio host, Jamel Hill. And that one's obvious. And then my studio commentators was going to be Clay Travis, Joy Taylor, and Emmanuel Acho.
I was waiting for Joy Taylor to come up.
Yeah, Joy Taylor sucks. And talk about just the woke. I will say my woke team. My woke team, you could give them a yes-no answer between Clay Travis, Joy Taylor, and Emmanuel Acho, and they still couldn't get the answer right. It is either yes or no, and somehow all of them, they could have different reasoning, but could never come up with the right answer. They're so bad. Emmanuel Acho's really bad. He's a one that somehow keeps on failing upwards, but he's really bad, and he's college football related too. He's probably my least favorite right now, just because he keeps on getting pushed. The other people don't get pushed as much. Emmanuel Acho still somehow fails upwards and is just all over my screen all the time, and he's just miserable. So
I thought about throwing Acho in there just so he could fight with Baker.
Yeah, he'll fight with anybody, but will have the dumbest takes.
When you have the OU UT thing, it'd be kind of fun. I don't know. So, anyways.
Honestly, you could just put his brother and him together, and that was the ESPN halftime show for 3 or 4 years there. So that shows you the state of the mouse. You could make a woke team of a team that actually existed.
So, okay, what was the best pick that anyone had of this? Because I think, to me, the one that made me laugh most was Jeff Probst.
I don't know. I also give it to Ty. I think Martin Brundle was a really, really good
I think those two, because Probst is actually a host, Martin Brundle is a sideline reporter. It just pulled them from the best places.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Who's the worst pick? Worst pick.
Mark Mangino.
It's Herb
Mangino at color commentator might be the worst.
Because I want to see Mark Mangino. I don't want to just hear his voice.
Imagine the tape.
I want to see him in a little office chair.
It's Mangino in a tiny little press box that is perfect.
But you only get to see that for 5 seconds of the game.
But they're glorious seconds. I want to see
ESPN with their small ass tables for these big events try to find one Mangino size that they can fit in an arena.
Seven different people at the table.
I think Jamison missed a great opportunity to pick someone for sideline that Urban would just try to flirt with the whole time, very awkwardly.
You're right. I screwed that one up. Really, really. I should have put oh my God, Ponder. What's her freaking first name?
Sam Ponder.
Sam Ponder. Should have picked Sam Ponder.
Oh my God, Martin Brundle, sideline reporter, though, is really, really good. Really, really good. 1982 says Reese Davis, Dusty on play-by-play, and then Joe Tessitore in there as well. I like that. That. All right, let's wrap this thing up, guys. Good show. Very fun stuff. I enjoyed it, even though I kind of hate my list, but very fun.
Bobby got rattled by everybody going too off the wall and tried to join them halfway through.
I think you got more flack than you deserve, Bobby. I don't think Baker is an atrocious take. He
I
did
agree.
really good in commercials when people didn't universally hate him. I think he has a true. I think 20 years from now he'll have a broadcast career, and Blake will be eating his words.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
I guess we'll see. I think he'll be fine. I think he's great. He's like pretty solid on game day. Like I think he has a good personality. He works. But anyways, this was fun. We'll look. We got a lot of previews coming up, like pretty damn soon, which I'm really excited about. We're kind of in that season. The new college football game's coming out. That's gonna be a blast.
Oh, we're gonna do a whole episode on that.
Yeah, we got to do something with that. Like
Girthy. It's gonna be a girthy episode. I still want to do my draft of best players that we miss playing out on because the game has been the game has been away.
We might need a couple episodes to do this. Like we shouldn't do an episode completely on that and then a preview, and then hell, we should find a way to play the game on stream. Maybe could be fun.
Oh, absolutely, that'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be great. So, we got a lot of really cool stuff. It's gonna be an awesome summer. Obviously, OU joins the SEC here in just a few short weeks. Running the 5K, still working on that. So that'll be fun. We'll have a lot to report from that. So, yeah.
Is there any way we could set? I don't know how we could do this, but a time that you have to complete it in, Bobby, and a punishment maybe if you don't complete it in that time.
Doing it is punishment enough. Like I don't think you know how out of shape I am.
I know, that's why we can set a time. I'm not saying like we set it at something ridiculous, but I want to see
45 minutes.
Make it some content. I want to make it some content somehow. And Ty bringing up, he said off the dome earlier, and that just made me remember Bobby not taking the Fruity Pebble Pickle off the dome, and like that still kind of upsets me. So I'm like, I did it on the show. Scratching for some punishment in these dog days of summer.
I did it on the show. I did it. I got it done.
Yeah, like 10 weeks later, doing our final bowl preview.
It cost OU everything. The Fruity Pebble Pickle. Keep in mind.
We warned you.
I know. I should have known better. So, yeah, it like wrecked. I wrecked my car. It gave me a run of bad luck that can only be attributed to spitting in the pickle's face. So I paid the price. I paid my dues. But
I need a punishment soon. I need somebody to be punished. That's all I need. I just need somebody to be punished.
You're just a foaming and a frothing for some punishment. Anyways. All right, well, that's our show. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Boomer sooner, everybody.